Just quick question about your,
Yeah.
I know you're looking for new deals.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you finding the biggest hurdle is more the properties are just not what you want, or is it more of a financial issue with what's going on lending, not lining up with what you want to do?
Yeah, it's actually the sellers. So what's happening, sellers are asking more than what their properties are worth. I call it the buyer-seller expectation gap. Sellers want more than what we can actually pay. And 6 months ago, it was really bad. I mean, they're trying to sell at a 3.5 cap, and the interest rates were a 5.5. Like you can never do that. But they really, they're trying to come to grips with the fact that if they want to sell, their property isn't worth what they thought it was, because the reality of it is I have to get a loan at 5.5% and still have money left over for investors, right? So that means I can't pay a 3.5 cap. I just can't do that. So that expectation gap is really starting to come in a lot more than it was. And so the deal I'm looking at right now is probably one of the closest. I like the property. Our regional manager's driven the property. I can't say anything about where it is yet because I just don't want to do that. But it is in Florida. It is in a great location. I know the broker. It has a real possibility right now, and what's happening is the reason people that don't have to sell right now are probably not selling because they're just not. The people that are selling right now are the ones that have to sell or who are going to have to sell. And the reason they're going to have to sell is that whole rate cap thing. Their interest rates have gone up. Their rate cap is expiring and they don't have enough money to buy a new one. So they're distressed, not because of the property. They're distressed because of the financial. It's a finance thing that's stressing them. I mean, think about it. Rates went up from the SOFR rate. That's what I don't remember what SOFR is, but that's the rate, the index that we use on these bridge loans. It went from 0.08% a year ago, February, to over 4.5% in 1 year. I mean, how do you budget for that?
Right.
You can't. I mean, you can't. So they're guys that are in trouble. And so what we have to, at first they're like, okay, maybe I can find someone. This is what goes on in the psyche of somebody that is in that situation. And as they get closer and they start getting squeezed a little more, they start to get, okay, all right, I better come down with my pricing. I'm going to get down because I don't want to, if they wait too long, then the world's just going to say, guess what, pal, you're going to lose your building and then we'll take it, we'll buy it from the bank. So they're getting that stress is increasing in their body, and they're starting to become more reasonable with their selling price. So now it just becomes a battle with the buyers because we have a nice property. It's in a great area. The pricing is kind of reasonable. So now it becomes a preferred buyer situation. So now a bunch of syndicators are going to run to the table. I know they will. They always do. But then we're going to run to that table and say, guys, listen, we don't have to worry about raising money right now. We've already raised it. Gives us a massive advantage. Plus, we happen to know the broker. Plus, we've closed with the broker before. And everybody in these markets, they know us like the back of their hand. They know who we are, and they know what it's like to deal with us. And, presumably it's a good experience. So that's what's really going on the ground with that situation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to weed out what I read and hear in the news versus what is really going on with these banks. If it's something that you are concerned about, if they're tightening up lending, they're not giving out money anymore, or if you don't see a problem with that going forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be an issue. If now think about this, play out what are some of the things I said about the banks. If they have all these unrealized losses sitting on their balance sheet from these securities that they're holding, and suddenly a bunch of office loans start to go bad, and a few multifamily people just hand in the keys because it's the way out of the deal because they're non-recourse. As banks start to get their capital starts to come under pressure, they will tighten their lending standards. They just will. That's very possible to happen. But again, it goes back to it's why we become a stronger buyer, because if the lender comes back to me and says, hey, Ken, I know I told you, and this is what really happens. I know I told you in the beginning I could give you 70% of the value, but you know what? We just came from loan committee, like it's 30 days after we started the process with them. that we can only go to 60%. This is what they do, and they do this on a regular basis. Well, that sinks a lot of syndicators because they raised X amount of money. We can be stronger. So that's why you be a disciplined buyer. If they tell me they're going to give me 70, I don't believe them. I go in and expecting to go to 60. Then they come back to 60. And yeah, of course I yell and scream, but it was probably what I thought I was going to get anyway. It's just the way we play this sort of game. So,
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. I know there's a lot going on here. What matters is I want to be the strongest buyer I can be in a very high growth market. And I want to make sure that any deal that we go after, like, why would you not take our offer as long as it's reasonable?
Right.
That's my goal. And if you like the content that we've shared here, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell. So thank you again and have a wonderful day.